So here we go with part two. We had to take a little break there for a phone call, but I just want to show you. I'm going to go behind, just slightly behind, because I want you to see how far away Chelsea is to what's going on here. Over here is where Governor Cooper's car is, and it had been facing the other direction when we got here. They literally drove this way, they backed it up, and they moved this way so that it's facing this way right in front of a doorway that he'll come down, and they've lined it up perfectly so that the passenger door is right in front of the door. Like literally they'll open the door, he'll jump in, and he won't see this one woman, Chelsea from Reopen Wake County, and her awesome daughter. We were talking about it in part one before the phone call came, and could you tell me a little bit, Chelsea, about what's motivating you to be here? Who is it that you know who's really been affected by this shutdown?
So I would say the person closest to me that's been affected would be my dad. His job was affected by this, and he's in his 60s, so it was at the very beginning of all this, and I know that he's had some trouble with getting into the unemployment, which I don't know if you've tried to apply for unemployment. The system is absolutely a nightmare. And he was able to, I think, tap into that, but many friends of mine have not been able to. They have not seen their stimulus checks. I have one friend in particular who she would be out here with me if she wasn't at this other thing. They're having to dip into their 401k savings to pay their taxes this year because her husband was furloughed. And I mean, that's a family of, I think they're a family of 4. And I mean, you have a governor who will not listen. He just will not listen to us.
I want to make a point here for a minute. And this isn't just to be, a spectacle, but when Chelsea was telling me the story about her dad, did you notice the emotion that's welling up? It's the activists who are spreading themselves all over Raleigh right now are motivated by concern for their loved ones. They have people who are personally affected and harmed and hurt, scared, they're hungry, they're worried about their livelihoods, their businesses. Jax is over on the other side of town right now at the legislative building with some of the other members of Reopen Wake County, and he talks about the blood, sweat, and tears that went into building his small business. And so we are over here trying to form an alliance between a number of smaller groups, many of them just full of these passionate people who literally will stand on a street corner, who stand alone out here with their flags, trying to let the governor know, whose office you cannot reach, that people are hurting. This isn't a political issue. This shouldn't be a political issue. There are residents of North Carolina who are hurting from the policies that he's affecting. Now, we don't know what he's been saying in there today because we're out here, but I think that he's slipping into phase 2 or something. We don't know. Or demanding.
I think he's going to mandate masks.
And that's the speculation, but we don't know. You all might know who's watching right now. Y'all might know more about it than we do right now because we've been out here. We're concerned about demanding face masks. So we'll see. I wrote about that. Go look at reopennc.com. I have an article. The last article I wrote was about the face mask, by the way, which let's see if he names any names. In the article, they're talking about, scientists, researchers, and state officials, quote unquote, with no names. My point is, if you're going to influence our lives and force us to wear masks, you need to name names and let us know who's giving you the information that that's the correct thing to do. How do you feel about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're taking your advice from 3 or 4 people who have vested interest in it, no. Mm-hmm. But I mean, my thing is, even if, sorry, I gotta put all these way.
Right.
You may not be able to see, but a lot of these, some of them are just regular people. They live around here. I would say one out of maybe every 3 or 4 is wearing like a suit. So they're coming from this building. So he's probably about done, or he might be done by now.
Okay, so she's anticipating that he's wrapping it up, close to wrapping it up.
Yeah.
And when he comes out, we're going to have a hard time seeing him because this is a tall car. It looks like it's extended. Perhaps it's extended for this very purpose.
Maybe. He actually has 2 cars. This is the one he always leaves in, but then he has like a kind of a silver, same model and everything that you can go by the governor's mansion any day of the week and you'll see him parked there. He has several cars actually, but he uses these 2 in particular. Gosh, I sound like a spy or something.
Well, but here's the thing. If he's not going to answer the phone in his office, what recourse does he give an American citizen, a resident of his state, who wants to tell him, hey, this is how your policies are affecting the real people? I didn't ask, is your dad a Republican? Is your dad a Democrat? I didn't ask because it's not really a political issue. He should be concerned about North Carolinians who are in pain. I would want to know. If I were governor, I would want to know, how does it affect the smallest, least powerful person? We got more cars coming, so something is happening.
Yeah, people are leaving.
And people are leaving. Let's see, if I move down here, I might be able to see that the door is open. And we'll see if we can catch Governor Cooper when he drives by and what happens. He could stop. He could stop and say hello to you. What would you say to him if you did?
Yeah, right. He's never going to do that. But you know what? I would love to have a conversation. Hey, Governor Cooper, this is my name. I live here, and I would just like to know when my friends and family can go back to work. I'm a big believer if you want to wear a mask, or if you want to stay home, or if you have someone you know or live with and they're immune compromised and you're worried for them, totally with you. But each individual person should be allowed to make that decision. So my friend Jax, who runs his tattoo shop, should not have to shut down because someone else feels that that's the thing. You just don't go out. Like, every individual person should have the freedom and the liberty to make that choice for their family. Because in making that choice, you're taking on those consequences. I'm taking on the consequence to be out here on the street. I might catch the Rona. I don't know. But I'm 100% responsible for that. I wouldn't blame anyone else for that. And I would not ever ask my friends and family to give up their livelihoods for me and my fears. So
to me, this is a very, very important cross-section of activism that is going on around North Carolina and around Raleigh. North Carolina is the eye of the political hurricane this year. And this is a very important story to me. This is one woman and her daughter here standing. It's not even a street corner. It is literally, I'll show you. I'll walk this far. They're not even on a street corner. They're on the side of the road across from where they believe the governor is going to be exiting from his press conference, which is not open to the public. So we don't get to ask any questions. Only the people who are invited get to ask the questions of the press conference, right? Now, I think he hasn't shown any interest at all in the public. We've had numerous meetings outside of his mansion. He doesn't come out. We can't get him by phone. And now here's a woman who has a heart for her family and friends who are suffering, standing on the side of the road, having spent time investigating and figuring out where Governor Cooper will be exiting. There's his car set up to ignore. That's just a story. So this is a big story to me. It's a big deal. We're going to see. We'll hang out here for a little while and we'll see if
he usually leaves pretty soon after. And the way the cars face, there's an entrance. This is like the big entrance down here. So he'll probably, and there's only one, I think there was one state police car in front of it when I went by. But now if we were to walk down there, a few more would show up. You know, know what, to be honest, we've been here long enough, and we've been in front of the governor's mansion long enough, and we actually know many of the state capitol police members on a first name basis, and they know us, and so we have a relationship with them, and so when they see us, they don't panic or call in reinforcements necessarily, because we've talked to them and we've told them why we're here, and we've created trust between us, to be honest, because they're not the enemy. I mean, they really aren't. I'm not saying there's not a bad egg in there somewhere, but I mean, when you have a relationship with someone and you meet them on a human level, I can't even tell you how many, I'm not going to call them out by name, but how many cops and legislators, you meet them on a human level and you talk to them, they're on our side. They are on our side,
right.
And they are supportive of this. So they want to make it comfortable. We were out here with Chip Hawley, and he put a car in front. This is down here in front of the big entrance. He made a car so that we would be protected, because there was a big group of us, and he made sure, you got to stand here, you can't be over there, but I'll be sure to block this part of the street off for you, and just super considerate. So we really appreciate
and
that.
I was even down in Raleigh on Saturday with what they're calling the Iron Walk, which is armed men who were armed. And they were not protesting anything, but they were just taking a walk. And the police in Raleigh, the Raleigh Police Department, dealt with it very fairly. It's Captain Bond. I thought he did a good job. It's hard. It's hard to deal with the emotions, and also we have to have law and order. So as long as our constitutional rights are being respected, we really appreciate the police and the job that they're doing. So we're not anti-police. We're not anti-government. I just want the government to work for the people is what I would like to do. And here comes a police officer right now. And
that took a little longer than I thought, but it's just me.
So as we're singing the praises of the police, we have a police officer who's coming up. But it's a difficult job because there is a lot of emotions, and obviously we want our elected officials to be safe. And so I understand why they need to have barriers around our elected officials.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you don't have anybody answering your phone in your office, that's not a boundary. Like, that's not a firewall that you really need, as far as I'm concerned. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you run a state of 10 million and you live in a county of 1 million, I mean, if you're going to make a decision that affects all of those people, you better be listening to those people. You need to hear them. And I mean, any of the press conferences, the questions are always the same. The ones that called in, I mean, they're focusing on things that I personally don't feel are important. Like, we don't need to talk about how many more tests no, when are we going to open the state? That's what we need to talk about. What are you doing for those who are in dire straits now? We're going on weeks and weeks of this now. People can't feed their families.
And I was going to ask you, if Governor Cooper stopped here and said, could I talk to you? Or what would you like to ask me? What would you ask him? What would you tell him?
I just pick one thing.
Okay. You could write it down for me, and I'll put it in an article on reopennc.com. I see somebody there who's looking around the corner. We also don't have any animosity toward the people who are working with Governor Cooper to keep him protected, because he's an elected official. We need to keep our elected officials safe from harm, because that's our system. We are a representative republic, and that represents the people. If they're in office, that represents the people. We protect the people, right? So there's a car who's moving very slowly, inching. I don't know what that's about. There is a police officer. There's another car coming around the corner. Governor Cooper's car is still across the entrance. Chelsea and her daughter are here waving flags. Looking beautiful, by the way. Lovely ladies. And and lovely ladies here waving a flag. There's someone who's exited the building who's now looking across the street.
Oh, he's waving.
He's waving. Yeah, he's waving. I mean, because we're not enemies here. But there is a problem. Governor Cooper really should stop and ask you what is on your mind. What is your concern? Because you've gone to great lengths to communicate with him, and nobody's answering. Well, nobody answers the phone when I call, but they do call, or they do when you call. And But no, he hasn't called back or responded back. They didn't send an email? Did they send an email?
Oh, I've sent emails. I've never gotten a response.
No response on the email. You know, maybe if he would send an email, then she wouldn't need to stand here in the street with her daughter while trying to get his attention to communicate her concerns. One of the main concerns that she has is her own dad. And when she started talking about her dad, her eyes welled up with tears. There's something going on there. There's a story there. I want to know, why wouldn't Governor Cooper want to know? Like, how do these policies affect you as one of my constituents? See, there's something going on with her dad. And I don't know what it is because I just met Chelsea today. I was over at the legislative building earlier today, and I'm going to be really excited to hear what Jax has done. Apparently he spoke. They took some public comments, which is awesome because that was his first visit to the legislative building. Let's this is a great day, I think, to again explain to people like what kind of activism they can do personally if they just know like the lay of the land. Could you explain how did you figure out what to do with your activism, like where he was, where to go, all of that?
Well, that would be the Lord. He placed very key people with big hearts and courage in my path, and no, just kidding. I mean, that's the big picture, but...
So you just sort of happened into it.
Yeah,
you just came out here confidently. You did not know what you really... There's no signs to say where to go or what to do. And so she confidently and boldly, because she's passionate about this, came out here and figured out, like, here's the building. There's this big, long fence. You have to drive a little ways around. There's a security guard outside because this is the National Guard building. So there's very good security around here for good reason. I want them to have good security around here. But so you figured out that there's a small parking lot, and
so we figured out, you got to park in a public parking lot. They're not going to let you park on the side of the street. And honestly, after that, it's you just kind of figure it out. With the first time we came, we were standing on the same side as the gate, and the state police were kind enough to let us know that was not allowed. I find if you are courteous and polite to anyone, they will respond in kind to you. So when you make your presence known, I try to wave, and even standing here, I mean, yes, they brought a state police car out, probably because he's going to exit here in the next little bit.
Right. And there's probably a policy. If there are people standing out in the street across from where the governor is going to be, you have the police come out. So one of the big things about doing this kind of activism that I really want to talk about, and you touched on it, Chelsea, is that deal with the police fairly. There's no need to be rude. I can't believe how many times I have seen people just snap back at the police who are saying, like, here, this is what's going on. Here's the lay of the land. Don't stand on this side of the road. Please stand on this side of the road. We are not against the police. Okay, and that's not like some big brother, they're stealing our constitutional rights by telling us don't stand here. They just be decent to them because they have a job to do. And if they're not pushing you down to the ground, you're just walking along and they just come and sneak out of a corner and push you down to the ground. Come on, how often does that really happen? Deal with them fairly. They'll deal with you fairly. I've been all over Raleigh at different protests, even with armed men, and they were very fair and calm. Yeah. So.
And I mean, not the first protest. It was probably the second or third one. It was the big one with we weren't allowed to get on the sidewalk in front of the governor's mansion.
Right.
I mean, of all those guys, and most of them were the Capitol Police, but Raleigh PD was there too. And I saw my buddy who's. He's actually on the SWAT team, but they called him in for RPD, and so he was standing over there. So I just went over there and talked to him, and I mean, the looks I got, like, how dare I talk to one of the guys who will not let us on the sidewalk?
Yeah, we're not about that. We're pro-police.
This is my childhood friend. Like, and truth be told, like, he supports us. So you got to be courteous and polite. These are our neighbors and our friends. We live here in Wake County. We're not going to antagonize them. I mean, we wouldn't anyway, but you don't antagonize people that you do life with.
Right. That's a great statement. You don't antagonize people that you do life with. And here we are being joined now with some other people carrying signs, carrying an American flag, and
His daughter and Lana.
Jackson, his daughter, and Lana. And they are from, Lana is from Reopen Wake County. So they can find you on Facebook. Where else can they find you?
Well, that's a good start, because from there we'll give you the email address and all the other handles that we have
to keep people up to date. So if anybody is watching in Wake County and is interested in joining up with this group and doing some activism with them, please go to Wake County, Open Wake County. You've poked the bear. He just got back from a very successful day of activism. Hello. And this must be Lana.
Yeah, Lana.
Hello, Lana. And this is... Yes, nice to meet you. And this is for another Reopen Wake County. So please go on Facebook and look at their Facebook page. We're going to write this up and drop links in and get this great long interview. And we're going to talk to Jax. We'll find out later what he has done, which I think is probably going to be very incredible, right? He's got a big smile on his face. So now we have five people who are, again, standing on the side of a road. They're standing on the side of a road. We have 2 police officers, 2 cars, and that's it. And so would you think that Governor Cooper would feel very confident in stopping and saying hello, waving? We'll see.
Not intimidating. Do we look intimidating?
No.
Our signs are even friendly.
They're lovely Americans. I'm going to go across the street and get a great picture. But again, we're just waiting. There's the car. I think he should at least stop and say hello.
I think so. We can hope.
Okay.
Very interesting people.
I'm going to sign off, go get a photo, and we'll come back if we can get Governor Cooper.